Now we are going to discuss Newton's second law of motion. What this Newton's second law of motion states. The Newton's second law of motion, before going for the statement, but before going for the statement, you should know what is the momentum. So momentum is the product of mass and velocity. Product of mass and velocity. Now we take that concept and let us see an example before going to the statement of Newton's second law. Now students, just pay attention. Suppose a body is there, and this body is of mass m. Initially, this body is moving with initial velocity u. Now, on this body, some force acts. Some force is acting on this body. When the force acts on the body, you know what happens here? The velocity gets changed. Depending on the force acts in the same direction or the opposite direction. If the force is acting in the same direction, velocity increases. If the force is acting in the opposite direction, then what happens? You know, the velocity decreases. Now, what we are doing? We are considering a body of mass m. It is moving with velocity u initially. On this, a force F acts. Then what happens, you know, students, here, the body, now it is moving after acting this force F, now it is moving with the velocity v. So if I say, what is the change in momentum? If I want to calculate the change in momentum, so beta यहाँ पे सबसे पहले तो मैं initial momentum p1 calculate करूंगा. Momentum, it is what? Mass into velocity. Final momentum I'll calculate. Final momentum p2, and this is mv. This is mu, and this is mv. This is mv. Now, if I want to calculate the change in momentum, so change in momentum, I can calculate change in momentum. Momentum, that is equals to p2 minus p1. That is final momentum minus initial momentum. That is mv minus mu. mv minus mu. Try to understand. This is the change in momentum. So suppose, just imagine that this change in momentum is taking place. This change I'm denoting by dp. Change in momentum I'm denoting by dp. Small change in momentum dp. And this change in momentum is taking place in a time interval of small time, that is dt. Then beta आपको पता होना चाहिए this dp by dt. This dp by dt, that is change in momentum with respect to time, that is rate of change of momentum. अच्छे से समझ जाइए. This dp मतलब क्या है बेटा? Change in momentum है. dt क्या है? It is time है. So rate of change of momentum is always directly proportional to the force applied, net force applied on the body. Are you getting my point? Try to understand. If suppose more force is acting on this, velocity change will be more. The velocity will be changing, and we are going to get more change in momentum. So that rate of change of momentum is always directly proportional to the force applied. This is your second law of motion. And this rate of change of momentum, जो भी change हो रहा है, it is always directly proportional to the force applied, but it is taking place in the direction of force. This direction of force apply हो रहा है, it is taking place in the same direction. So let us go for the statement here. See, the Newton's second law of motion, you can see. The Newton's second law of motion is statement first. That is statement, the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the resultant or the net external force acting on the body and takes place in the direction in which the force acts. I hope the concept is clear. So in order to understand the Newton's second law of motion, you should have the clear-cut picture of the momentum and the change in momentum. If you know how to calculate the change in momentum and you are defining you are giving the statement for second law of motion itself as the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to force. I hope you have understood. Now students, let us go for the explanation of Newton's second law of motion. What is the explanation? That what I can say here, we are going for the derivation part for Newton's second law of motion. Okay. Now let us go for explanation or the derivation part. Now students, we are going for the explanation part of Newton's second law of motion, try to understand what I am saying. Just now we have seen the force, concept of force and momentum, rate of change of momentum directly proportional to force as per the statement. So this force is proportional to what? dp by dt. If dp by dt is proportional to force, force is proportional to dp by dt, we can write. Now I want to remove this proportionality sign, so I have to introduce one constant k with dp by dt. Now students, try to understand, this is very important thing. The value of k is assumed to be 1. So if suppose this is value of k is 1, then we can write directly f is equals to dp by dt. The very important formula on which we can expect the questions in the competitive exam. Force is equals to dp by dt. Now let us go for the another what we can have from this. So if I write f is equals to d, what is momentum, students? Momentum is mv, and this is what? dt. You know, momentum is the product of mass and velocity, that I have written p as mv. Now f is equal to, try to understand, this is a product. Suppose simply if I take mass, if I consider mass as constant, I can take m outside. But in some situations, mass does not remain constant. In some situations, velocity does not remain constant. So what to do and how to proceed? So here we need to consider both mass and velocity, both are variable. So you may ask a question, how the mass is variable? How it is like if a body is moving, its velocity will get changed. But in what condition we are getting that the mass is getting changed for that? So for this, I can give you the two best examples, or three examples I can give you at this junction. The first one, the conveyor belt. What we have at the airport, conveyor belt at the airport, and the conveyor belt to what I can transport the gravel from one place to another place. On that, if suppose you are conveyor belt, if you are checking the conveyor belt and you are looking for the, देखिए बेटा मैं क्या बता रहा हूँ आपको, conveyor belt पे अगर आप if suppose you are keeping one conveyor belt will be there. If suppose you are going for that conveyor belt, if you are keeping some luggage on the conveyor belt, क्या होगा बेटे? ऐसा नहीं है कि एयरपोर्ट पे आप जाएंगे और वहां पे आपको ये दिखेगा कि भाई सपोज 20 kg का आप वेट लगते हैं, मास रखते हैं कन्वेयर बेल्ट का, कन्वेयर बेल्ट बिल्कुल स्लो जा रहा है. 5 kg का अगर आप मास रखते हैं, इट इज गोइंग फास्ट. इट इज नॉट लाइक दैट. There the velocity of the conveyor belt will be constant. आप 2 kg का रखिए, 50 kg का आप मास रखिए, the velocity of the conveyor belt will be the same. It is not going to get changed. But on that conveyor belt, we are changing the masses. Mass हम continuous change करते जा रहे हैं बेटा. Are you getting my point? Masses we are changing. On the other hand, if you consider rocket propulsion, when the rocket is fired, the fuel burns. And the fuel burns and we are going to get the exhaust gases. Exhaust gases comes out from the rocket. And as the fuel burns, you know, the mass of the rocket decreases. Here, there also we don't have anything mass constant. वहाँ पे भी mass change होता है बेटा. So whenever the question comes for conveyor belt or the rocket, like such type of questions are there, you should not consider the mass is constant, mass is variable. तो अब आइए बेटा, मैं इसको थोड़ा मैथमेटिकली मैं आगे बढ़ रहा हूं, थोड़ा देखिए आप. दिस इज व्हाट दे see, this is the one quantity, this is another quantity. So first quantity as it is dv by dt plus second quantity as it is dm by dt. Beta, actually we are having in differentiation, this we are having as uv rule. UV rule is there beta. What is this UV rule? You have to keep the first quantity as it is, differentiate the second quantity as. Next, keep the second quantity as it is, differentiate the first quantity. I hope it is clear for the students who have not understood. M, first quantity as it is, differentiate dv by dt plus v as it is, differentiate mass as dm by dt. I hope it is clear. Now, what I do, if suppose mass is constant, we have to consider this situation. Mass is constant means like vehicles moving with certain speed. Below speed is changing there, mass remains constant. So यहाँ पे हम बनाएंगे if mass is constant. If mass is constant, then this force will become F is equals to m into dv by dt and this term will become 0 because differentiation, I said you mass is constant. If I take mass as constant, then this m is constant, differentiation of any constant is 0. So this part will become 0. This is totally, this term will be 0. So that means if mass is constant, we can write m dv by dt, and you know dv by dt is what? Acceleration. This is also important formula to, we can expect questions on this, on this, on this. And the second one, if velocity is constant, velocity is constant, like I have given you the situation, velocity as constant means conveyor belt, I have given the example. So under that situation, velocity जब constant होता है बेटा, तो ये velocity constant है, therefore this term will become 0. dv by dt क्या हो रहा है? It is 0. ये 0 हो रहा, plus v dm by dt हो रहा. Why I am taking this as 0? Because I have given you said heading as velocity as constant. Differentiation of any constant is 0. So this part will become 0. So what remains? F is equals to v dm by dt. V dm by dt. And on this also we may expect the questions. I hope you have understood the complete concept of force and what are the variations we can expect at the competitive level. So here I stop. Students, here we are going to do the problems on Newton's second law of motion. So the first problem, what we are going to discuss is on the board now. It is the linear momentum of a particle as a function of time is given by P is equals to A plus BT, where A and B are positive constants. We have to find the force acting on the particle. How much force is acting, that we need to calculate. So it's very simple if you analyze, or if you like, if you remember the definition of Newton's second law of motion. The Newton's second law of motion, what it says, F is equals to dp by dt. So I apply the same concept, F is equals to dp by dt. So P is, first I'll write P is equals to A plus BT. P is equals to A plus BT as per the question. Now we need to calculate the force acting. So force is how much? Force is equals to dp by dt. Force is equals to dp by dt. That means we have to differentiate P with respect to time. With respect to time. So here what I do, I take, this is F is equals to D. What is P? P is A plus BT. That means we are differentiating P. P is A plus BT as per the question. Now A is a separate constant. Differentiation of any separate constant is 0. So therefore, this I will write it as 0. And this B is left. B is attached constant with T. So I will write this as B, and the differentiation of T, it is 1. Differentiation of any constant is 0. Differentiation of T, it is 1. So the answer what we are having, the force is equals to, this is 0, B into 1, it is P. So this is the answer. Now let us go for the next problem. The next problem, what is it? You can see a force is applied for a duration of 10 seconds. So here the force is applied for how much time, that is important, that is 10 seconds. So I will write the given data here. T is equals to 10 seconds. On a body of mass, mass is also given. Mass is how much? 5 kg. And this is at rest, means initial velocity is 0. You can see the first statement. In the first statement, or I can say the first sentence, 3 physical quantities are mentioned. That is, time is given 10 seconds, mass is given as 5 kg, and it is at rest, means initial velocity is 0. Initial velocity is 0. As a result, the body acquires a velocity. When the force is applied, no? So what is happening here? The velocity is increasing from 0 to 2. That means final velocity, we are getting it as 2 meters per second. Our question is to find the magnitude of force acting on the body. Magnitude of force acting on the body. So beta यहाँ पे देखिए आप, velocity is changing. 0 से 2 पर velocity change हो गई है. The velocity has been changed from 0 to 2. So which formula we are going to take? Mass is remaining constant. Here mass is not changing, velocity is changing. So mass is remaining constant. If mass is constant, the formula what we are going to use, F is equal to ma. Here mass is constant, velocity is changing. So therefore F is equal to ma. Now F is equal to, what is this A? Let us calculate. We know this equation of motion, V is equals to U plus AT. What is V? V is 2. What is u? Initial velocity is 0. And what is this a? A क्या है बेटा, जरा अच्छे से देखिए आप. A, what is a? We have to calculate. And what is this t? How much is the time? That is 10 seconds. Now students, this is 2 is equals to 10a, where a is equals to 2 by 10. That gives us 5. That is 1 by 5 is the acceleration. That value I have to substitute here. Mass is how much? 5. Now acceleration I am getting it as 1 by 5. So this to get cancelled, the force value what we are getting it as 1 Newton. This is the answer.